the Matt Classic hood's my hood.
Oh, is it?
I give it to him, yeah.
Ah.
I need a hood. Why? I'm doing this thing. I used to do a gimmick called the Masked Spy Master. Same kind of shit. I use mine. What the fuck? It's over. Where's my hood? I need it. Well, then give me some fucking money for this hood, you prick.
Oh, dear. All right, are we ready, sir?
Has Joey Ryan stolen your idea yet for the panties? Yeah.
No, but I reckon he would sell fucking... He's an idiot. He would sell those.
Yeah.
I sold a fair bit, but he would sell more.
We are backstage at RCW Dark Days. I'm sitting here, myself, Josh Armour, with Todd Eastman and Scrap-Iron Adam Pearce, who's joining us for Volume 2 of the Adam Pearce interview. So thanks for, just sitting down and having a yarn.
Man,
I appreciate it, man.
for sure, boys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And we're sitting here post Dark Days, and it was a rad show tonight,
Yeah.
I must say. And again, it's one of those little things of watching somebody in the ring, wrestling, doing their thing. And there's one thing, folks, that Adam talked about down at RCW training, some of the talent down there the other night, was try and get the maximum out of the minimum.
That's
and
right.
You do that so well out there. It's really amazing to watch.
Thank God, because I'm not getting any younger. You know what I mean?
Tell me about it.
But that's the thing, we being around for almost 2 decades now, I've run the gamut of I want to do as much as I can in as short amount of time as I can, right? I want to stuff 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. Now I'm a little bit older and I realize what works and what doesn't, and that's up to the individual talent to figure out for them, within their character, within their, their act, what gets the biggest reaction, and then work to those strengths and then cut everything else out. Because otherwise you're throwing things away or you're taking bumps when they're not needed, and everybody's bump card is only so long. So if you can figure it out when you're young and, like I said, work to those strengths, you can prolong and have a longer career. It's almost 20 years for me now, so yeah, it's pretty awesome.
How many times have you been down to Australia now?
I was trying to figure that out when I got down here. Benny English was like, God, what is this, the 8th time? I mean, it's got to be 7, 8, 9 times. I don't know. But it seems like over the last 3 or 4 years, it's a couple times a year, so... I love it, man.
Yeah, besides the cold this year.
It was cold. In the winter it's cold, but fair enough. In the winter it's cold everywhere.
Yeah.
When it's winter. The only thing that if I could get rid of one aspect of this, be the flight. 15 hours is 15 hours. I don't care if you're sitting in first class or in the back of the plane, man. 15 hours sucks regardless. Yeah.
I'm bad enough on a 3.5-hour flight to Queensland, let alone...
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
Speaking about doing the seminars, since we talked to you last, you sort of started doing seminars as such at the WWE Performance Center.
Sure.
How did that come about, and what do you actually do there?
It's actually been a long time coming, I think. The first conversations I had with the company about coming in as a coach or a trainer was probably 2.5 or 3 years ago. And it's taken, a considerable amount of time to get people on board with the idea of someone coming into the system who didn't go through the system. Granted, I worked for the then WWF when I was 18, 19 years old, but that's not the same as going through the developmental program and understanding how it is they train guys. Fortunately for me, the people who are on the coaching staff are people that I've had experience with over the years, who understand, A, what kind of performer I am, but B, and I think even more importantly, what kind of person I am.
That was the same with Sarah Del Rey as well. She
Absolutely.
Never really went through the system.
That's right, absolutely. And obviously one of the best wrestlers in the world. And having seen her firsthand work with the girls in Orlando, it's inspiring. And as I told her, I'm so proud of her because I had her as a talent when I was booking Ring of Honor and watched her grow. I mean, I remember when she first started out in California way back when, and have watched her progress and turn into this masterful performer and now an instructor, and it's great. When I was down there right before I came here, I don't know, 3 weeks or so before I came down for this tour, I was down in Orlando, and I just said to her, man, I'm so proud of you, like, you have no idea. And she's in the perfect spot. She's doing what she loves to do, and in a lot of ways, I think, being a teacher, teachers don't get the credit they necessarily deserve. She's not going to pull a 7-figure salary, nor would I, full-time down there, but at the same time, in a lot of ways, the coaching staff at NXT are responsible for the future of the industry, at least on that level. That's a hefty goal, man. That's a burden to bear, but like, I'm proud to be a part of that in the way that I have been.
How often do you go down there?
I've been down there several times now, but it seems like every 4 or 5 months, 3, 4, 5 months, whatever fits. The cool thing about that is they'll ask what my schedule is, and then I'll throw it to them, and then we'll find an opening that works for both sides. It's been great.
So who are some of the guys that you sort of see down there that have potential that you think, I could see this guy being maybe a main eventer at WrestleMania one day?
I'm going to give you an answer that you probably don't like, because literally all of them, we're talking about 80 talents or so, male and female, that are there for a reason, right? And they possess some intangible, whether that be athletic or from a performance aspect or from some theatrics. There's people there that have come literally from all walks of life, both athletic and otherwise, who possess that it quality we talk about that no one can ever identify, but that you find your eyes drawn to. That building is full of those kind of people. And I think when I look at pro wrestling, much as pretty much any walk of life, it's about what opportunity is available and whether or not you fit that mold that's available at the time. You could be the best wrestler in the world, but if there's not an opening for the best wrestler in the world, then you kind of dwell. And it's hard.
Hero's time down there.
Sure, and that for him was what it was, and I can tell you just from working with him both before and after his time down there, that he's grown as a performer, and for whatever reason things didn't necessarily click for him, and who knows what the reason is. I would venture to guess that there's a multitude of reasons on both sides of the coin that for whatever reason they decided to kind of part ways, but it's an incredible place down there, man. It really is.
I know there's like 80 or so people down there that are training, but could you tell us maybe a bit about Matt Silver's progression or Buddy Murphy's progression, if you can?
Sure. It's to me it's a testament to being in a position to understand that you're not necessarily the cat's meow, even though you think you are. When you're the top guy in a certain area, as I think many people would think Matt was here in Australia, to go to that place where all of a sudden there's an entire roster full of people who are at or above your level, that's a little bit of humble pie that you need to chew on.
Absolutely, because when we spoke to Matt about 2 months before he had his last match in Australia against Brooksy, and he basically, I think that's one thing that you brought up with him, Todd, was that you're this big fish in the small pond, and now, or regular sized pond in Australia, and now you're starting from scratch.
Right.
And I think at that moment, and even like a lot of people say this and that about Matt Silver, but one thing that I noticed, that even his last appearance here, I think he started to sort of realise that, okay, I need to change the way I sort of maybe think about things, or just sort of be a bit more sort of humble. And it definitely started to come through then. Now, I don't know about you. And hi, buddy, because I know he does listen to the show. So, but yeah, what's your sort of take on, I guess, your first impressions of him when you saw him in the ring? And
he's a machine. He's a machine. I mean, there's no question about that, and I think it was about harnessing that talent and the machinations that he would bring into the ring and kind of fitting that to the WWE mold, right? So that it was going to be that period of time where there was going to have to be a comfort zone figured out for him and for them on both sides. Okay, what can Matt do? And how does that fit into the mold? And for Matt, I'm now part of this huge machine that churns things out rapidly. And how am I going to stand out from the rest of the pack? I think the things that are good for him, number one, is that as a wrestling talent, in the ring, there's probably few, if any, guys in there who can do the things that he can do. I think he struggles and is getting better, I'll say that for the record, with the theatrical side of what the WWE model is, right? There's the wrestling in the ring, and that's
like the independent wrestling sort of side, and then there's the actual.
Well, there's wrestling, and then there's everything else. Yeah. And as we move forward in time, everything else is almost, if not more important than the wrestling when you're at that level.
And I could say that for an act like the Ascension, who some people who are, wrestling purists will look at the Ascension maybe and go, oh, they're just two big dudes. But I look at them and I see the next Demolition. I see
absolutely.
the next APA. I see the next big tag team
Yep.
that really might stir things up. The way we thought 12 months ago that, the tag team division's really coming along, and then it was, it sort of went down a bit and wasn't focused on as much. I could see them now really setting a standard for that division.
Certainly. I think the thing that, and I'll say, I've said this before and I'll say it again, World Wrestling Entertainment is sports entertainment, not just pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. They're two separate worlds in and of themselves that come together under one umbrella. You can't have one without the other and expect to be successful, whatever successful actually means.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't expect to be at the top of the card and work in WrestleMania if you're not both. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I guess you got to just look at people who have ended up on a WrestleMania card, and they do possess the wrestling ability, the athletic. Like you sort of look at them and go, like, wow, look at this guy. And on top of that, they bring it when it's showtime.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it really does, I guess. Yeah, you're
absolutely.
Right. Totally.
So moving from NXT and the work you do there, or the performance center and the work you do there, you also went with 2K doing the motion capture for 2K WWE 2K games. Can you tell us what that sort of involves, and any of the other guys that we might know that actually do that as well?
No.
All right then.
I'll tell you this: greatest job in the world, and I'm thankful every time I step into the studio. Now I think 5 games in a row or whatever, and I might actually be moved to murder if I was in jeopardy of losing my position. It's that awesome of a job. But
so you moved from like the THQ through to...
Yeah. So I worked with THQ, going back to, I want to say 2011's game, or the one before. I don't know. I have to look. But 2K THQ was great, and then obviously they had their financial issues and went bankrupt, and the assets or whatever was sold then to 2K, and dealing with them has been a pleasure. It's a very interesting industry, video games in general. Yeah. And being a part of that, and actually being, doing the motion capture and seeing the kind of work that goes into bringing what we do physically to the, the technological life, if you will, is pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah,
the ping pong suits and all that.
Yeah, we wear that. It's great. It's all spandex. It doesn't hide anything.
Are you much of a gamer yourself?
Not really. I enjoy. When I was a kid, certainly, but I've got other things going on in a family. Little ones, that's me. I play Madden. I play I love 2K14, the NBA game. Yeah, in fact, I'm playing that in the studio, and when I hear my name called to report to the set, I get very pissed off when I'm in the middle of playing my game. Priorities, right?
Especially if it's online.
Is there a Pierce hidden character somewhere?
The short answer to that is no, because they don't allow that now. Because you have to remember now, the 2K licenses
are all WWE.
The WE stuff, so it's all licensed to WWE now. Whether or not there may be a pile driver in the game that's named after me, I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Go through your creator wrestler move sets, folks, and look for it.
It's an awesome experience. It's so much fun, and just to work with a professional crew. Not just the motion capture crew, which I won't tell you the names on the air because I don't want to get fired. Which I don't even know if I would get fired, but I just whatever, kayfabe. But
it's
working
alive in 2K.
It's an amazing group of people that come together and make this virtual world go round, and just to be a part of that and watch it happen is pretty cool.
It must be pretty cool to be a part of that, because as somebody who, I don't play a lot of video games, but when people do play games, we sit there and whinge about especially in Australia, the cost of software or music or games like that. But then I guess we don't stop and think about the work that does go into it. We just sit there and take it for granted and go, it's graphics on a game and we're pressing buttons. Right. We don't really think about all the time and effort and the months and months that go into making one game.
And you hit it, man, months and months, because as I understand it, there's a lot of changes coming to next year's game, which thankfully is translated to a lot more work than there has been in past games, which I'm not complaining. My checkbook is not complaining, so it's very cool, man. Very good. Good people, great people to work with.
Sorry, no, you're all right. Sorry. It's okay, we can edit.
Several naked women just walked into the room right now.
And Joe Greco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll let you guess which one was unshaven.
You also went.
just.
I had to.
We may as well just get serious here,
I had
folks.
to move on.
Yeah.
I had to move on. For one time, I have to be serious. Okay.
I have some listener questions on my phone, and that's upstairs. So
Oh, you go and do that.
Fair enough.
I'll keep talking now. Yeah. You went for the announcing gig for San Diego.
Yeah,
Padres.
awesome.
That's your sort of your home baseball team, your favorite baseball team.
I've lived there for almost 15 years, so yeah, I would guess I'm a homer. My son's favorite team. I grew up a Cub fan out in Chicago, and I'm always a Cub fan. And no, I don't think they'll ever win the World Series while I'm alive. But I certainly root for the Padres, and I can tell you firsthand, having experienced what they do as an organization. We're talking first class all the way, man. They treated me very well.
How different was that for sort of like working in the business you work in now?
From a performance side of it, it wasn't very different at all. From what you're actually doing, like we're talking the genre of entertainment, from baseball to professional wrestling is night and day. But I was so honored, I guess that's the right word, just to be considered for the job. I had a weekend off because a promoter canceled on me, and happened to find out that they were doing an open audition for the PA spot at the ballpark, and completely on a whim went down and said, I've got a Saturday free, let's go spend some time in the ballpark, not expecting a damn thing to go. And then it went from, let's have some fun at the ballpark to very serious conversations within a matter of a couple of weeks.
How long was it before they realized sort of what they were dealing with?
Well, I don't think, the turnout, first of all, was huge, and I don't think they were prepared for the amount of people that showed up. We're talking about 1,000 people that just rocked up and said, hey, I can be the PA guy. And we're talking about legitimate radio professionals, broadcast professionals, and like Joe Blow off the street who is completely out of his mind. We saw all walks. And I just happened to walk up, my degree's in communications, so like it wasn't far-fetched for me to be able to do that. And happened to do okay, and then do okay again, and pretty soon I was calling regular season ball games while working with guys like Vin Scully. The garbage man just came in and was making a mess all over the place.
Sorry about the background noise, folks. We are halfway through pack up, so yeah, that explains that.
Joe does everything around here, apparently.
He does not give a. Can I say the word?
Go for it.
Fuck. Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, man, absolutely happy that I went down there on the Saturday because I could have stayed home, and really humbled and honored that the Padres invested as much time and effort into me as we, the candidates who did this.
Yeah. Was there any time you're thinking, I might actually snag this? What with having sort of the wrestling public behind you? Because I know I went and voted, and I don't get baseball games.
Right.
But I still went and voted for years.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really inspiring, actually, to kind of see the outpouring of support. And it was happening from basically every company on planet Earth. The guys were like rallying behind it. And I don't know if that's because they want me to get out of the wrestling business. I kid, but it was cool to have virtually everybody. Daniel Bryan was a WWE champion at the time, and he was tweeting about it. You know what I mean? Of course, I know Bryan and have a relationship with him, but he didn't have to do that. Yeah. The guys in TNA didn't have to do that. And fortunately, I was good enough to actually have pulled off the job. I sat in one of the broadcast booth one night. It was a Padres-Dodgers game, and if anyone's a baseball fan, Vin Scully has been the voice of the Dodgers going back more than 50 years. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's a broadcasting legend in the United States. And in the broadcast booth is Vin Scully, Charlie Steiner, who was with ESPN for years and years and years, Dick Enberg, who's broadcast Super Bowls and everything else, and who's actually the TV voice for the Padres, and me. And I'm looking around this room going, what in the hell am I doing in here with these people? And I'll tell you what, to a man, every single one of them were the boys, they didn't look at me like I was some scrub off the street. I had the same format and was working from the same paperwork that they were, and it was I was trying to draw parallels between wrestling and that, right? What's the same in this? The one thing that jumped out to me was the camaraderie between the guys, the players, the broadcast staff, because they're all trying to sell the same product. Just like everybody in the locker room is trying to sell the same product when we're putting on a show like tonight, And those guys couldn't have been more supportive. And I did a good job. I think I finished 5th out of 1,000 or so people, and it was an incredible experience. Something I could put on a resume now.
Exactly right.
Broadcast team for Major League Baseball. How many people in the world can say that? I can say that.
That's pretty cool. I mean, like, even if you don't follow baseball, there's one sort of, everyone's familiar with and it's like that.
Right.
Take me out to the ball game.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even we know that song here, and we hardly have baseball in Australia, so that's pretty cool.
The interesting thing too about that is I'm looking at the formats, and to me it was like, it looked exactly like the pay-per-view formats I would have written for Ring of Honor. And I'm looking at this going, I could have written this. I could have written this. It's betting for the Padres. Right. Exactly it. Right. That's exactly it.
You also recently received a Cauliflower
Yes.
Alley Club award for active. Is it the active award?
Yeah, the Men's Active Wrestling Award for this year, which is, if people aren't familiar with what the Cauliflower Alley Club is, it's basically, to me, the way I explain it anyway, it's like the Screen Actors Guild for pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
It's by the business for the business, that kind of thing. It's open to the public when they have the convention, but it's, the awards are given by the industry to those in the industry, and in a lot of ways, for me anyway, the respect of your peers means a whole hell of a lot more to me than a paycheck or fan support. And I don't mean that derogatorily at all, but like Nick Bockwinkel is the president.
The other people you work with think that you are.
Well, and when you're talking about the CAC, it's not only the people you work with, it's the legends of our business, We're talking about Terry Funk and J.J. Dillon hosted the award ceremony. Nick Bockwinkel, he's stepping down, but he was the president of the Cauliflower Alley Club. So Nick Bockwinkel, who's in the Hall of Fame, has to say, Adam Pearce is worthy of this award.
One of your childhood
Absolutely.
heroes.
That means more to me than anyone could even possibly understand, And it was a really good night.
Yeah, because you accepted an award a few years ago for
last year,
Moody,
for Bill Moody, who was a dear friend of mine, Paul Bearer, or Percy Pringle, whatever you want to call him.
Tell the people just about how.
Well, it's not widely publicized like a lot of these things aren't, but Bill and myself were very good friends and had been over the last probably 5 or 6 years of his life. And when he passed on, which was incredibly difficult for me to deal with, having not had any recent deaths in my family, it really hit me hard. And then to have his sons ask me, along with Moody's business partner, to accept this Lifetime Achievement Award on behalf of their father who had passed away was probably as big or bigger than any honor I've ever had in pro wrestling. And I was very, very, very happy to do that, one, and two, happy equally to share in the experience of him being inducted into the Hall of Fame this past March. And I was there for that, and I was with the family and everything. It was great.
Yeah, for those at home, Willie Moody's also Paul Bearer, manager of The Undertaker, manager of Kane, that whole deal. But such a big career before he even made it to the WWE, really.
Oh, certainly, man. He's one of the most influential people that I've ever had in the wrestling business. And the ironic thing about that is when we would get together, we hardly ever talked about pro wrestling. Yep. He was a dear friend of mine. I love him. I miss him.
I hear he had a really good mind for tapping into people's strengths as far as bringing out characters and personas and things like that. I've heard that he was quite.
I didn't find anything that he wasn't good at, and he'd worked for everyone from world class all the way up, and any main champions you could think of, from Rick Rude early in his career to the Freebirds to obviously the Undertaker and Kane. I mean, he was instrumental in a lot of that stuff.
He was one of the few managers that sort of changed his gimmick completely.
Yep.
He became that Paul Bearer character. Because Percival Pringle was completely different a character to what Bearer was.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's a testament to the kind of pro he was. He was able to find whatever role was needed. Moody was able to do it. And I've yet to meet a person who knew him that didn't love him, and I certainly am in that group.
Sweet move.
Sure, no one's going to come through the roof.
Oh no, I'm not worried about that.
No, it's all right. Worried about everyone knows where we are. We've announced where we are.
Sure. So, I'm just an audio nerd.
Yeah, I know you are.
That's me.
He's bitching about the ambient noise. Yeah.
Tech people.
I know.
Yeah.
Now you have another match with Colt Cabana, the 8th level.
Yeah.
Coming up in 2 weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah.
What sort of brought this about that the two of you would get in the ring again?
Money.
And moving on.
No, I mean, that's part of it, obviously. We're in a business, we want to make sure that we can capitalize on things. But the other side of that is it's for promoter Ed Hellier in Minnesota, who we've known since we were both teenagers, and he was a part of the 7 Levels of Hate, and he's promoting a big event again, and it just made sense. We've been very, there have been a number of promoters that wanted to book matches between myself and Cabana, and we've been very kind of cautious about doing that, not wanting to just kind of throw things away. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So this one makes sense. We're going to do it a couple weeks in Minnesota. It'll be fun again, and I always look forward to punching him in the mouth.
Another short movie on this one? Or?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, we'll see. I don't know.
Speaking of sort of the video side of things, the YouTube series, The Scrappier.
Yeah.
Is that going to make a return?
No.
Did you get fed up with people's stupid questions?
No. Actually, that made it fun. People ask me about that all the time, but like.
At least you got to chase up the guys that didn't pay you.
Yeah, that guy. He got me and he got me and Cornette the same week.
Oh, for real?
He got me and Jimmy Cornette the same week. Yeah, I forget his name. If I could rattle it off right now, I totally would.
It was a really weird last name.
Yeah, he was Filipino or something like that. Yeah. I played with that, and to be fair and to be transparent, I probably didn't give it long enough. But it was only getting like 2,000 hits a week or something like that, and like it's not enough,
Well, it's one of those 2,000 every week as well.
Well, I appreciate it. No, I had fun. It didn't take too much effort to make the thing, but again, like I'm trying to figure out what to do with my day, and I've got 2 little ones, and
play with them.
Well, there's that, and if it was drawing huge numbers and making a lot of money, we'd be talking a different story. I'd probably be doing them. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Now, just recently, a good friend of yours, Kevin Steen, has signed on with the WWE.
Is that confirmed? Do we know that to be fact?
I'm pretty sure it has.
I cannot confirm that.
He does have 3 dates left in Ring of Honor, so that might give us a hint. I don't know.
Say that he would. Say that he has, maybe. How do you think his chances are going to be?
Oh man, you know what? Let's assume for a minute that he's doing that and that he wants to do that.
Well, you've got to see the last 6 months. He dropped a lot of weight, got into a really, really good shape. Back into sort of the old Mr. Wrestling shape.
Maybe. I don't know. He looks the same to me, but whatever. I just worked with him maybe a month ago. I worked with him for Tommy Dreamer at House of Hardcore, and it was a lot of fun. We worked in New York. It was the first time we'd had a singles. We've been a bunch of tags over the years, but never in a singles one-on-one. It was a lot of fun. I'm as big a Kevin Steen fan as probably anybody else. I've known him since he started in the Ring of Honor, going back years now, and it kind of I'm a bigger fan of him outside of the ring, I think, than I am inside the ring. Just knowing his family and how he gets along, and I think any wrestling company who has Kevin involved is better for it. He's one of these unique performers that can kind of transcend what pro wrestling is supposed to be and connect with an audience on a very real level.
I was going to say, he knows how to toe that line, especially when he's cutting a promo and he's in a really heated rivalry. You don't know when he's cutting a promo or when he's being legit. And that is great. When someone can rope you in like that, I mean, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, that's it.
And when someone can do that.
Yeah. So if he were to turn up in the WWE system, I would think that he would have... people say the sky's the limit. It's cliche, but I think, again, for Kevin, regardless of where it might be, if you have Kevin, you have a tool in your toolbox that you can use to build some really big houses. I think.
Now you've been down here. You've done some seminars, stuff like. What's the Aussie talent like that you've witnessed in these seminars compared to sort of like around the country?
People, I get asked that question regardless of where it is, and I'm doing these things. And to me, and people don't like to hear this, but wrestling is wrestling is wrestling. You know what I mean? There's little differences in Mexico that are different from Puerto Rico, that are different from Canada, but by and large, it's all the same thing, right? It's the same language in and of itself. The people that come to these seminars are the people that have the passion for the business, right? And some of them may athletically be able to do it. Some of them theatrically may be able to do it. Some of them may not be able to do any of it. Okay, so I see all walks. The one consistent thing that I see when I do these camps is people that love the same thing that I love, right? Yeah. So I have all the time in the world for people like that, whether or not I believe they can go and end up being a featured performer on Monday Night Raw, or that they're the worst fucking performer there is. That's immaterial to me. If you've, number one, given of yourself the time,
you got the passion
and the money and the passion to come in and say, I want to learn, I have all day and all night for you. You know what I mean? So to come down here, and I've done a series of camps. I did one in Queensland, I did one in Melbourne, I did one down here. Like, and some of them I saw the same people. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So that speaks volumes to me of the people that, you either want it or you don't. And I'm not one of these guys that judges. If you want to work once a month, but you love pro wrestling, I'm totally cool with that, man. Good on you. It takes all kinds. If your aspiration is WWE, I may be able to help you with that. Good on you. It takes all kinds. You know what I mean? You're never going to hear me say a negative word about anybody who's ever paid a dime or spent their hard-earned money and time, more importantly the time, to come and sit with me for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours however long we're in the ring. Because you can't teach passion.
No. I know doing the promo seminar we did the other night, I learned just so much just from that. Just sitting and talking. Right. And sort of like really having to go into what my gimmick is or what my character is really like. Just learned so much more than what I originally sort of put into it.
Sure. And I think of all the things that I've been able to do in the Performance Center, the one thing that has always kind of resonated with me, and I don't want to say it's meant more because it's not accurate, but it's humbling to have Dusty Rhodes, who teaches their promo classes, their character seminars, whatever you want to refer to it as, one of the bona fide top communicators ever in our industry, to say to you, hey, will you come and help me with this class, or sit in and listen? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so that's what we did. Like, I when I do those things, I do them just like Dream would do them. You know what I mean? And it's about introspection, and it's about digging into what you're doing and why. And who are you? And how do you get to be who you are? And forcing you to put more thought into what you're doing, because anybody can get in front of the camera and just talk, But who is your character? How did they get to be an asshole? How did they get to be a hero? I don't know. Well, I want to know. Think about it. You know what I mean? And it just makes you a better performer. If you can find yourself in that character, And we do the seminars, and please, if anybody's listening that wants to do these things, like, I feel like they're beneficial. Like, I know they've helped me. I've sat in on them. I've taught them. I've been a part of them. You know what I mean? Like,
I must admit, I felt a lot more comfortable going out there tonight.
Good.
Just after doing that.
Good.
I knew like what I wanted and where I wanted to be.
Right. Yeah, you know what? There's pieces of the puzzle that we don't always have. You know what I mean? I think there was a violent assault happening.
Grim just attempts to hit Kellyanne in the back of the head with a thermos. You bad guy, you.
The question is, what was in the thermos? Was it coffee? Was it chocolate milk? We don't know.
Was it chocolate milk with Bailey's? If it was, bring some over here.
Fucking anything with Manny.
Hey, Joe. Jesus. What's your fucking language, Joe?
Jesus.
Can't you bleep it out?
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that, so go your hardest.
Yeah. That's right, that's my job.
Alright, so you've had matches in Australia with Brooksy, with Graham, tonight with Nick Armstrong.
Yeah, for sure.
There are some guys that you've come out of the ring with and you've just gone, why are you here? Well, you should be.
No.
No?
And even if there were, I wouldn't say. You know what I mean? Because I'm not that guy.
Yeah, unless they come up to you and said, I really want to.
Well,
this is what I would like to do, and you're like, well, you can do it, you are good enough. Do you know what I mean?
Here's the thing. And anytime I get in the ring, a promoter is paying me for my services. My job is to deliver a performance, first and foremost, right? So I do that, okay? But secondly, I know who's passionate and who's not. Like, I can tell by looking at you. I can tell by talking to you. And I have never run into anyone down here in Australia who didn't love this business the way I love it. And that's not glad-handing. That's not bullshit. That's the truth. Because if you put me in the ring with somebody who doesn't give a shit, you'll fucking know. You'll know. Because I don't like to waste my time, and promoters don't like to waste their money.
One thing that Nick said about working with you is that you just know when to take your time. You know when to just hold that stare till it's just that little bit uncomfortable, and then you react to them.
Right, sure.
Just that sort of stuff. I think is just it's stuff that you can only learn by seeing someone do it live. You know what I mean, sort of thing.
I think it's experience. I think it's doing it thousands of times, you know what I mean? And that's not limited to wrestling. That's any vocation on earth, you know what I mean? You're going to get better with time, with working with people that are better than you. You know, and when I do these seminars, I tell you, I feel for the talent of Australia because you guys are isolated.
Yeah, and that's one of the things where, you know, like like you were saying, Todd, about how, you know, knowing when to take that extra time and all these different things. Just all those little things that make the psychology, get the crowd going, get the best out of your opponent, all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's going to come to someone who's been all over the world in in front of different crowds.
Sure.
Big, small, wrestling with big guys, 500 pounders, 200 pounders, 100 pounders.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that can only be expected that you're going to pick up that.
I've been very lucky, man, to have been surrounded over the years with some incredibly intelligent performers that I've been able to steal shit from. That is.
I think I was listening to your show with Jesse the other night. It was your Flairs and that. Of course, you're going to take from Flair. Well, who wouldn't?
I look at the people who I've been fortunate enough to work with. It's unreal to me that I will have worked with Ric Flair and Tully Blanchard and Dusty Rhodes and Terry Funk and J.J. Dillon and Terry Taylor. And I forget Nick Bockwinkel, you know. I've been on shows with Bobby Heenan. Like, I have been extremely... right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I have been so fortunate to have watched the literal masters of our craft. And
now I've moved into managing. Bobby's the one that I watch.
He's the best.
Yeah.
People ask me
I watched last year when I was here. That's all I watched was like Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
And Jesse
just
Ventura.
his whole motto is I manage like a wrestler and I wrestled like a manager.
Absolutely. And drew money doing both.
That's something I try and absolutely live by.
I do Q&As on Mondays on my Facebook fan page, and people are like, who would you like to wrestle that you never have? Bobby Heenan. Who would you like to have manage you? Bobby Heenan. Who would you like? Bobby Heenan. The answer is fucking Bobby Heenan for every question. He's the best. I was so happy to see him in New Orleans over WrestleMania weekend. He's doing well. He's sharp as a tack. He's Bobby the Brain Heenan. He's the best.
Yeah. One of my biggest regrets now is not booking myself to manage you tonight.
Yeah,
is when you said to me, you coming out with
finally,
I went, oh shit, why didn't I do that?
He's finally let the cat out the bag, folks. It took him a couple of months, and he finally did it.
There's always next time.
Yeah. Anyway, so that would pretty much
almost.
Oh, hello.
Almost, because we can't.
Oh, you got viewer questions.
Now we get to the dumb question.
Hey, come
Just
on
kidding.
now. We don't want to say that about Michael Roach. G'day, Michael. Basically, Michael wants to know who are some of your favourite wrestlers from Australia. So I guess maybe you could perhaps talk
Bobby
about...
Heenan.
Perhaps you could talk about, I guess, then some of the guys that you have wrestled like in your trips to Australia, and also thoughts on, because I'm sure he was here earlier tonight, thoughts on your match tonight with Nick Armstrong.
I had a lot of fun tonight. Both Armstrongs, I think, are extremely talented in a lot of ways. You know, and again, as I said to both of them individually and collectively over the last few days that I've been here in Adelaide, the only thing that is really separating what they do from, say, the rest of the world is exposure. You know, if they were to go to the States or they were to go to England or they were to go to Japan, I'm certain they would turn heads.
Oh, you look at Nick Armstrong, though, especially the way he works and the way he's like, he belongs in a Ring of Honor, like somewhere, like a
certainly.
Nick's connection. Nick has that connection with the crowd.
Absolutely.
He would fit right in to any company that wanted a babyface that could draw money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like and tonight was proof positive of that when we were in the ring. The interesting thing, I think, or maybe not so interesting, but just from my perspective, looking at the talent of Australia, particularly the guys that I've been able to work with, again, there isn't a whole lot of difference from anybody else anywhere in the world. I think the one major thing that separates the talent here from everywhere else is proximity to other talent. That's it. You know, there isn't. I've had people ask me questions that I thought were almost like baiting me to try and shit can people, and I won't do that at all. And even if I could, I couldn't. You know what I'm saying? Even if I was that guy, I couldn't do it, because the guys that I've been in the ring with here over the however many times I've been down here are people that would excel anywhere on planet Earth in pro wrestling. Right?
Yeah.
That's the truth. You know, whether it's an AJ History, who I worked with on this tour the first time, who I thought was great. Nick Armstrong tonight, first time I worked with him, thought he was great. You know, to the Cracker Jacks and the Jack-O-Lanterns and the guys that have been around in this scene for a while that are like known quantities, they've all been great.
And even Chris Voss, like the
absolutely.
I've seen him come from Wrestle Rampage here, which used to be called EPW Adelaide back in 2007, 2006. Long, blonde.
Yeah,
locks,
certainly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And to see where he's come from there to now, and seeing him work, I saw him at a Rampage show a few months back, and I was just like, man, this guy's just getting better and better and better and better.
Yeah, I mean, if the continent was closer to the States, you know what I mean? Like, you know, not saying that the States is better wrestling-wise than anywhere else, but that's where the fucking trade is.
Yeah.
That's where the business is if you want to make any real money, right?
You really only get maybe one shot a year.
Right.
When WWE comes down to tour to show them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm really happy and proud for the people that have acquired these tryouts that are coming through here in a month down here in Melbourne. You know, like, I think they're really going to open some eyes, because you never get a sense of really what the expectation is from the talent, because I know that WWE understands how isolated Australia is in terms of wrestling talent too. You know, but you've got Matt Silver, Buddy Murphy, and you've got Emma, doing her thing, and there's a boatload of guys who could equally, if not surpass, the job that they've done. Yeah. I believe that wholeheartedly. Yeah.
And also Chris Kamain asks, what was your thought process behind choosing Black Betty as an entrance music? I don't know if you've used Black Betty in the past.
We talked about that today.
Yeah, we did.
And also, what was your favourite match in the 7 Levels of Hate series with Colt? And thanks for that one, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Regarding the music, when I started with the Ring of Honor in 2005, I went through a couple of different songs trying to find something that fit. This is before the copyright kind of thing was really getting stringent. And I settled on Black Betty by Ram Jam. It was from like 1974 or something like that. First and foremost because it was different and it was catchy and I liked it. And that was really it. That was the thought process.
And you can get a good clap going on that beat.
There was a beat that people would bang on the guardrails in Ring of Honor, and they did. And so I kept it until we started dealing with, copyright law, and we had to change. It was 2008 when I took over wrestling operation for Ring of Honor, and we were going on television in the States. That changed everything because now we were forced to find original music for everybody.
So this is otherwise that you have to pay royalty for.
You could pay through the nose. I personally spoke to EMI Records for Bryan Danielson's song in Ring of Honor. Was the Final Countdown by Europe.
Yep.
They wanted, and this is I don't think I've ever told this story. This is honest to God's truth because I'm the one that called and made the inquiries on this. They wanted $20,000 US per time it was played.
Holy shit.
So Brian usually won, so that would be 2 times per show. That's $40,000, and I don't give a shit who you were. We've been paying $40,000 for anybody. By the same token, if what I was told is correct,
sorry, was that
per time it was heard on a broadcast?
Oh, on a broadcast, so not necessarily just at a live event. They weren't like that.
Oh no, absolutely. Because we taped everything for DVD.
Every show was
so I guess for the DVD you had, and then that goes, I guess the distribution of that.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So I was the one that made that phone call, or several phone calls, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I think Black Betty was only $2,000. I think for the year it cost $2,000 for the rights. So I was able to hold on to that for a little bit longer. But I
think down here they pay for an APRA license. I think it's called.
Okay.
And you can just play anything you want.
Yeah.
A certain amount.
And there's certain broadcast entities in the States that have what they call a needle drop license, i.e. they've paid years and years and years ago, like in the 60s, for rights in perpetuity. So, for instance, at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, based in LA, because it's broadcast on KDOC TV out of Los Angeles, they've paid for one of these licenses, so we can use whatever music we want. But I just, I use the music that I had custom made for me. Yeah. To answer the second question, my favorite match Some Levels Hate was the third one, the I Quit match in Minnesota, which is the same promotion we're going back for in a couple of weeks. It was just, a real big crowd, a good night, and I don't know. It was when you, as a performer, you have these nights. Some nights are better than others, and it seemed like everything just clicked that night. It was a lot of fun. So yeah.
And another question, I guess I wouldn't mind sort of asking before we wrap up. I mean, you wrestle, you've booked, promoted as well. At times, have you, or have you sort of had a hand in it?
I've had a hand in it. I'm very, very proud to say I've never spent one dime of my own personal money on pro wrestling, and I'm one of the few.
And if you had to decide on one to sort of pay the bills and whatnot, would you rather train or would you wrestle, and what would you prefer, or would you stick with the THQ or the video game gig?
I would do that until I literally physically couldn't do it anymore. But I think I'd probably broadcast baseball.
Well, that as well. I was going to say, that's
free games.
No, you know what, man? And at this stage of my life, I think the natural course of action is probably into transitioning into the training, the coaching, and obviously over the last year or so, I've been making moves towards doing that. I'm at the beck and call of people far above the pay grade that I'm at to determine whether or not I'm able to do that on a full-time basis. But like in a perfect world, I would love to end up down in Orlando as one of the coaches on that team, and that would be my vocation. I turned 36 on this tour that I've been on now for 18 days. Well, we have applause. I don't know if we're picking that up, but they're applauding my birthday. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. But you know what I mean? Like 36, not a dinosaur, but 20 years in almost at 36 is, my bump card's pretty full. Yeah.
So, is that all the questions you have?
I guess that'll. Yeah,
no more questions from the fans?
No, that was pretty much it. The group was really slack this week, guys. You gotta pick it up there. Pick up your game, folks.
Come on.
But thanks for get your plugs out the way as well.
Yeah, exactly.
The merch and all that.
What am I plugging?
Well, plug your
ProWrestlingTees.com/Adam Pearce. Buy something. Help feed a 6 and a 3-year-old. Twitter at ScrapDaddyAP. Facebook, I don't know what the URL is. I don't care.
Just
find me.
Just find him. Adam Pearce.
Yeah, just ask me a dumb question, get a dumb answer.
Yeah.
That's how I do it.
You can't take any more friends, but you can follow him.
You can follow me, and here's the thing: people actually get pissed off about that, because I had 5,000 plus friends.
That's what you're allowed to have.
Listen, I'm not like the most well versed at Facebook. I see the purpose in having it. The problem that I had is I didn't set up the right page to begin with. I had like a normal page, right?
Yeah.
And so then when I unfriend people who I've never met my entire life and could never identify at all by sight ever, get upset that I've unfriended them. It'd be nice to be able to share pictures of my children with my aunts and uncles and not the rest of the world at the same time. So find the fan page, whichever one that is, and follow me that way. Or if you don't, and you're an asshole and you don't want to, then fuck you.
And before we, I should have left it on that note. We'll leave it there. But with somebody with your experience, I think we should really leave it with. If anyone's listening, they want to, if anyone's listening and they're, that young kid, sitting there who wants to. Adam Pearce is making.
Adam Pearce didn't do it. No, I'm not.
No, never. But no, if
only if my wife's here.
But in all seriousness, if that some young kid is sitting there listening to this, and with your experience, and they're hearing this and they're thinking, oh, maybe one day I want to be a wrestler. What would you say to them?
Go to school. Finish your education, whatever that may be.
You were only saying that the other day.
Yeah, and I said that to Demi here, who has, I think, will end up having some really incredible opportunities in pro wrestling, but she's young. Yeah. And while you've got some time before you're able to capitalize on what I think will come her way, she should invest that time in herself, bettering herself as an individual.
Don't rush into living your life. Just don't rush into to
Be a kid while you're a kid.
Right. Well, there's that, and there's also not putting all your eggs in one basket either, because this business can be extremely fickle. You know what I mean? And some of the most talented people in the world sometimes don't make the most money. And, I've seen people who have been very close to me personally get wrapped up in the machine and have things not end up the way that they anticipated or dreamed that they would. And that can crush somebody if you're not prepared adequately for life outside of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Because this only lasts so long regardless of what your job is in this industry. As a performer, your shelf life is what it is. Physically, we're not built, to do what we do in the ring, and you've only got so many bumps, as I said earlier. And there's so many other things that go into our business that if you're not at least in a position to function in society outside of it, you know what I mean? And I think the easiest way to do that is through education. You're setting yourself back. So people ask me, I want to be a pro wrestler, what should I do? Finish your degree. Get one. I don't care what it's in.
Have a plan B.
Force yourself a maturation process before you get wrapped up in this thing. And I've been doing this since I was 17 years old, right? And so I'm speaking from direct experience. It took me 18 years to finish my bachelor's degree, and I'm one of the lucky ones who, depending upon your perspective, one of the lucky ones who gets to make a living in pro wrestling, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
But that won't last forever. And so I'm dealing with kind of what's next in life, provided, I assume certain things will happen and I'll be around wrestling until I'm dead, but there's a very good chance, because that's how this business works, that may not happen. And if you're not able to, live life and take care of your shit, you got a problem, so go to school. Don't be a fool. Go to school. Yeah.
And on that note,
thank you for being here on Wrestle Radio Australia. Thank you for being, for a very short time, a part of Team Eastman tonight.
Oh, come on.
I think I'm a part of Team Eastman for life. No?
Oh, I'll definitely have you in.
Yeah, right.
Hear the end of this now.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope.
Thank you for being at RTW, mate. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, dude. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Seth.
That's whichever way I go. Right, that's the way we roll. That's all we know.
Hey, Thelonious Punk here, and I'm interrupting an otherwise quality podcast to let you know about our little show, NXT Cast. It's the only international podcast devoted to the future of the WWE, NXT. I'm joined each week by Chris NXN Nixon and the Austrian cyborg Bernard Binder to go over the latest NXT rumours and news, as well as an in-depth analysis of the latest episodes and the current roster. So if you're looking for a wrestling podcast that covers arguably the best in-ring product that WWE is producing today, then find us on Stitcher, iTunes, Podomatic and NXTcast.net, the international podcast devoted to the yellow and black, NXT Cast.